Once upon a time, there was a boy named Mark. Mark was a quiet and thoughtful boy. He often spent a lot of time alone, thinking about his life. Mark had one wish, a wish he carried in his heart for many years. He wanted to go back to the past. Not because he wanted adventure, and not because he was curious. He wanted to go back because of his regrets. Many things in his past made him sad. Sometimes he remembered words he should not have said. Sometimes he remembered chances he did not take. Sometimes he remembered friends he lost because of small mistakes. These memories followed him everywhere like shadows. Often, Mark would sit by his window at night and whisper to himself, "If only I could go back, I would change everything." The past felt like a dark cloud over his life. Years passed, but the feeling did not disappear. One night, something strange happened. The sky was very dark, and the wind was strong. Mark could not sleep. He decided to go for a walk outside. The streets were empty and silent. As Mark walked through a quiet park, he noticed something unusual near an old tree. There was a small glowing light on the ground. Curious, Mark walked closer. It was a strange object, like a small clock made of silver. Its hands were moving very quickly, faster than any clock Mark had ever seen. When Mark touched the clock, a soft voice seemed to whisper around him, "Do you want to return?" Mark's heart began to beat very fast. "Yes," he said softly. "I want to go back." Suddenly, the wind grew stronger. The light from the clock became brighter and brighter. The world around him began to spin. In a moment, everything became silent. When Mark opened his eyes again, he was no longer in the park. He was standing in a familiar street. It was the street where he had grown up as a child. Mark looked around in disbelief. The small bakery was still there. The old playground looked new again. The trees were younger. Then he saw something that shocked him. A boy was running across the street. That boy was himself. Mark realized that he had truly returned to the past. At first, he was excited. "This is my chance," he said to himself. "I will fix everything." Mark began to relive the moments of his life again. When he met an old friend, he tried to be kinder. When he faced an important choice, he tried to be wiser. He believed that this time everything would be different. For a while, it seemed to work. But slowly, something strange began to happen. Even when Mark tried to change his choices, life seemed to follow the same path. Sometimes he forgot his good intentions. Sometimes he acted too quickly. Sometimes he made the same small mistakes again. Little by little, the same problems appeared. The same arguments. The same regrets. Years passed again. Mark grew older, just as he had before. One day he woke up and realized something incredible. He had arrived again in the same future he once tried to escape. The same room. The same city. The same life. Mark sat quietly, trying to understand what had happened. He had traveled through time. He had relived his entire life. He had tried to change everything. And yet, he had somehow made the same mistakes again. Mark looked at his hands in disbelief. "How is this possible?" he whispered. Outside, the world continued as if nothing had happened. People walked in the streets. Cars passed by. The sun slowly set behind the buildings. Mark felt a deep silence inside his mind. Then he finally understood something strange and powerful. Running away from the past does not always change the future. Sometimes, the hardest thing in life is not changing the past, but changing ourselves. Mark remained sitting in his room, completely astonished by what had happened. And for the first time in his life, he realized that the future was still in front of him. But this time, he was not sure what he would do next.